Hey there, David Gordon from TheaterMania here. It is Tuesday, July 7th, and I'm here with Jimmi Simpson.
Yes, sir.
Great actor, star of the season premiere of the new Twilight Zone reboot on CBS All Access.
Mm-hmm.
The episode is called Meet in the Middle, and I'm obsessed with it.
Oh, my goodness.
Obsessed with this episode.
I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Yeah. How are you, Jimmy? Thank you for talking to me today.
Oh, man, thank you for having me. I was having technical issues.
It's all good.
I'm a failure at a lot of internet things. But it's so nice to see your face.
You too. Tell me about your relationship with the Twilight Zone in general. Like, I presume you were a fan growing up.
It's a deep and storied relationship. So much love. I had this little black and white television that my mother won at some kind of thing, and so I was allowed to keep it in my room. And only, you had to like turn the dial like a radio, and I could get this PA station that would run Twilight Zone nonstop. So I would just obsessively watch it. It was like my nighttime story. And so I've seen them all, obsessed with so many of them. I've loved how they just kind of preyed upon storied human fears that we've had for as long as we've been around. And it was just, I thought it was just a brilliant dissection of what every human doesn't want to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this one falls right into that category, and that's why I think I liked it so much. And I tweeted this last week to the writers, and it just feels like an old school episode of The Twilight Zone.
I agree. Sarah and Emily knocked it out of the park. They absolutely did. And it plays on isolation, on fear of madness.
Yeah.
Just the greats.
How did they get this episode to you? Was it like the traditional, like your agent gets a script, he sends it to you, or did they reach out to you specifically for this part?
I had, they talked to me about something else a month or two before, and I just had here we go. I had broken my arm in half in the ocean, and so I have a new titanium bar here. And so I was kind of out of commission. I was like, oh, I missed my shot to be on Twilight Zone. It's just one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah.
And then I got to have a meeting with Win Rosenfeld, who's over there at Monkey Paw, and he's the essential part of the whole everything they do over there. And he's such a nice guy. And I said, I'm so sorry I missed this opportunity. He goes, we have this other episode. You might even like it more. And so I think luckily I got to have that nice meeting where I got some FaceTime, and that's that. Then I got the opportunity.
So the gist of the episode, and you can jump in whenever you feel comfortable in my explanation, is
sure.
You play a guy who, I guess you could describe him as like an incel,
sure,
or something.
Yeah.
And he's like terrible dating life. Nobody likes him. Lonely. And then he starts hearing the voice of a woman in his head, and the two voices become obsessed with each other. And the voice is played by Gillian Jacobs.
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah.
Just before we get to that point, what Sarah and Emily laid in there pretty beautifully is Phil's kind of inconsolable. Why am I not getting everything I want? Why am I sitting across from this person and I don't even agree with her menu tastes? Like, what a little picky thing. He doesn't like the menu, and so he's instantly out of the date. And it's that kind of guy that gets joined by Gillian, and it has to be that kind of guy. It has to be a guy who's expecting everything and giving nothing, so that he allows it to affect him.
It feels oddly relevant today.
It really does. It really does. There's a lot. I have a lot of friends and peers, men who do have this kind of princess syndrome, where they're just expecting everything. That everything will come to them, and they don't have to do their part.
I want to talk about the filming of this episode, because it's basically you just interacting with a voice, and a lot of the time you're not even talking; it's just facial expressions interacting with what the disembodied voice of Gillian Jacobs. So what was that like to film? Like, how difficult was that to film?
How difficult? Did you say?
Yeah.
It was pretty darn difficult, just because we were up in Canada. We didn't have access to Gillian for a lot of it, and so me and the director, Matthias Herndl, who I think knocked it out of the park, isn't he? He was also the DP.
Yeah, and you can tell that he was working hand in hand with himself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he absolutely was, and he even brought me in when we've had our first meeting, and he's like, now I am the director, I'm also the DP, and I want you to feel safe. And so he knows that it's a lot to bite off, and he's prepared to explain how he's going to pull it off as one man, which is, that's all you can ask for, is a guy who's capable, but also knows how to bring everybody to help, understand his process.
Yeah.
And he just blew me away pretty much every day.
The angles, and I mean through the entire series, like the angles that he uses and just like the color schemes.
Absolutely.
It felt old school. It really did.
Yeah.
It felt like you were watching a Twilight Zone, and we've been watching a lot of them lately, my wife and I. It felt like you were watching like a 1961 episode of the Twilight Zone.
I agree 100%. And so we tried to figure out. We had a wonderful actress who was there sometimes that Matthias knew that would help with some of the Gillian parts, but then there was just a lot of times where the room didn't support that, the action really didn't support that. It kind of had to happen faster than like a remote read, and so it was then on me to memorize the scene and to hear Annie's voice in my head and have my thought and hear her thought and have my thought, which was trying. And, I would want to do it 1,000 times over again and get better and better at that craft. But
I was going to say, did they prepare you for that in like school and in your like theater experience? I was going to say that sounds like a very unique experience.
It was pretty unique. I was expecting it to be difficult because, I noticed we all watch these scenes where someone's having to deal with something that's not right there. And so I knew it was going to be a challenge. It was a greater challenge than I even expected it to be, of course, but everything that's hard is more difficult than you expect it to be. And when you get through it, then more and you're better.
And the product was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. I was really pleased.
You even get a Burgess Meredith moment in there with the glasses. I
know. I loved it. I love the little Easter eggs that Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone drops.
Yeah.
I remember in season 1, Adam Scott washes to the shore.
Yeah.
And then you see the little Eye of Beholder doll floating. Yeah. And it's like, yes. There's so much love for the series.
Yeah.
In this series,
I have a Canamet doll on my bookshelf staring at me right now.
Amazing.
What was I going to say? Was the time enough at Last Illusion where you break a pair of glasses? Was that written into the script?
The script that I read, it was, and I was so in it that I didn't even think of the Burgess episode while I was doing it or while I was reading it. I was just like, oh no, this is his connection to Annie.
Yeah.
And then when I see the shot, I'm like, oh, I see, but you tag it all together with the nice rug.
What's your favorite Twilight Zone episode? Do you have a favorite, or do you just have like a top 5? Over and over.
I mean, Eye of the Beholder was the first one that destroyed me.
Yeah.
And you could still watch it and just be stunned at how believable this. They're just like, here's your breadcrumbs. This is what you think beautiful is. This is what you think beautiful is, and it's beautiful. The whole thing. I love. I also love this one from the 80s where there's this a vampire moves into town. Do you remember this one?
No, I don't. I don't know the 80s Twilight Zone very well.
Oh, there's some golden ones, but that was all about a vampire moving into town, and he starts affecting everyone, and he befriends a boy, and it shows you that, yeah, he's an outsider, but he's a good guy, and the town actually turns against him and devours him, just kind of calling into question what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. And I saw that when I was like 12.
Well, that sounds like the episode this season with Damon Wayans Jr. And he's the church janitor who's able to fix up the town because he finds a set model of the town.
Absolutely. It made me think of that one, and then there's also one from the original that episode reminded me of, where everything starts. There's like someone built a bomb shelter, and all the lights start going out. Remember?
Yeah.
And then the people start devouring each other to try to get this space, and then the reveal is that it's aliens.
Yeah.
Messing with our electricity to mess with our minds.
That's a great episode.
So good. But so much into that one.
I'm obsessed with the Twilight Zone. I could talk about the Twilight Zone all day.
Oh, it's because it's so perfect.
Yeah. I suppose I should ask you a theater question, because it's a theater website, so why not?
Well, it's an essential part of my life.
The last play you did was something we talked about in 2016 called Empathotrax. As far as I know, that was the last play that you've done, at least in New York.
Sadly, it's the last full production I've done, which is it's a painful existence to have been 4 years without a full-on production, rehearsal, show, run.
Yeah.
It's always been essential, and I've actually been thinking the past 6 months, it's because sometimes there's not enough time to say I want to commit to this thing because I'm in this rat race, and you have to take advantage of these opportunities.
Yeah.
But inevitably, every single time I do a full production, I come back to this part of the business so much more prepared, so much more capable, with new understandings of my craft every single time, without fail, whether the show is great or not. And
do you have a theater bucket list?
As far as shows?
As far as shows or roles?
Yeah, my Hamlet is George from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh, very nice.
That's the goal, and I'll do it. Get that permission from the Albee estate. I will do it in my mom's garage. I don't care. It's just and I've been memorizing the play since I was 23 or so.
Do you have a dream, Martha? You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to put juju into the universe. I know Laurie Metcalf was and she's a friend of mine, and in my I know that's not kind of quite reality because George wasn't that much younger than Martha, right?
But she's my dream Martha. I don't know if I could be her George, but that's the Martha that I think we all need to see.
Well, hopefully it'll come back.
I know.
Oh, right. You and Laurie did Trevor.
We did Trevor together, and she played my human mom to the chimney. And gosh, spectacular. She's just so spectacular and so down to earth with her feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Amazing. Jimmy, thank you for your time.
Thank you for yours.
I so appreciate it. This was fun.
I really appreciate it too. It's so nice to talk to you again. And to talk to anyone is nice these days.
And people watching at home, you can download CBS All Access, buy us Twilight Zone, and a bunch of other cool things. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
You guys. Thank you. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.